Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know y'all been missing me because I have been missing y'all. Welcome to the 2024 winter season. Sure to be in another exciting episode on Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. Today is Monday, February the 5th, and you're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click your live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV on YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe for free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. We have some new platforms that we are on. Also, you could go to your Apple Store or Google Play Store and look for WCEG in that app store or Roku streaming. Alexa, you can tell Alexa play WCEG Talk Radio. We have 12 podcast distribution platforms. So we're out there, you all spread the word. And I must give this disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not of WCEG Network. We thank you for your continued support and make sure you tell a friend to tune in. Well, I hope you all had a blessed holiday. Last time you all saw me, it was in December. So happy February and happy Black History Month. A lot has happened since the last episode in December. And I want to, take this a brief moment of silence for those who are no longer with us here on earth and those who are not even able to live an active quality of life, those who are hospitalized or just suffering from whatever illness that they may be suffering with. As you all have heard before, he previously talked about my dear friend, Chief Emmanuel Adeyemo, but he still remains hospitalized. That situation, has been filled with a lot of twists and turns. But we're going to keep advocating for him and those like him who may be who have a permanent residence visa here, but have next of kin that lives in another country. But we know God is still in control. It's really been very stressful and just a roller coaster. I'm not, being told that you can't call to check on them, and then finding out that he's been moved from Emory to somewhere else, and we don't even know where he is. So we're going to continue to keep him lifted up in prayer, the family in prayer, and we know God is still in control. Well, on a happier note, I'm going to be a grandmother, but my title would not be grandmother. It would not be Nana. It would not be Gigi. It would not be grandmother. It would be Iya. I know some of y'all say, what in the world? Where did Valencia get that from? Well, it means mother or grandmother in the Yoruba language. And you all know I always talk about my Yoruba African ancestry. And of course, this is Black History Month. Why not a perfect time to make that announcement? And this will be my first grandchild in our family and the first great grandchild for my dad. You all know we were talking and we haven't had a baby in 20 years in the family. So we're not even going to know what to do. So yes, baby Nova will get a lot of love. And this will be baby Nova's, her dad's first daughter. She'll be her dad's first daughter. So there's a lot of excitement in our households. So over the past year, I've been bombarded with calls for me to return to the Georgia State Capitol. Back down there to that madhouse. Yeah, it's a madhouse down there. It took a lot of prayers because being a public servant is not easy and it requires a lot of sacrifice of your time. It is not a title to be taken lightly. And you have the lives of people in your hands every time you vote, whether for good or bad. Families and our communities are affected by whatever happens as you serve in an elected position. So I was actually given a prophetic message that said, "Don't you dare quit." And y'all, I'm telling you, I didn't want to do it. I'll be honest with you. It took me a long time to make that decision. since retiring as a state representative of District 74 in Clayton County, I spent a lot of my time navigating through various systems affecting everyday people like you and me. I've been caring, of course, you all know, for my dad, who's 83 years old, Brother Lovett Stovall. Some people know him as Deacon Stovall, and coming face to face with many other challenges faced by seniors and individuals with disabilities. I've also been busy navigating the hurdles of being self-employed. I've been inside our Georgia schools. Yeah, y'all, I tried my hand at substituting for some couple of years, during which time I have witnessed students struggling with mental health issues, as well as public school teachers have a newfound respect. I always respected teachers, but a newfound respect when you got to put those shoes on your feet and going into those classrooms and your hands are tied, and you're witnessing how overwhelmed our teachers are in these classrooms, the lack of funding that's needed, and the pressure from school administrators who are getting pressure from the central office, getting pressure from the state board of education, getting pressure from the legislators, getting pressure from the community. Everybody wants the top-notch education system, but it's going to take a lot than just wanting. It's going to take a lot of action. I've been conducting advocacy training, trying to help our citizens to understand what it means to have a voice and how powerful that voice is as a citizen, as a voter. Your voice has power, but a lot of times you don't know it because you become complacent to the situation and the communities in which you're living in and what you see. You see a lot of fast food restaurants, you see a lot of other undesirable businesses in your community. And when you drive out of your community into better communities, you'll wonder, why is it those communities seem like they're thriving? It all becomes the leadership, because leadership matters. And if you don't understand or listen, nothing else I talk about today on this show, my first show back for the new season, is leadership matters. I've been working with connecting our single parents and youth to resources, and of course, countless other issues that come up. All of these firsthand encounters and previous experiences have placed me in the ideal position to be the next state senator for District 34. The incumbent decided to retire, so this is what's considered an open seat. The district is located in majority of Clayton and in North Fayette. The cities of Conley, Forest Park, College Park, Riverdale, Jonesboro, and Fayetteville. There are over 190,000 residents in District 34. And I encourage you all to go to the website, gostovall.com, to see the map and find out more about why Stovall is running in this particular campaign. I say it again, leadership matters. We need bold, accessible leadership that's motivated to get things done, with who is proactive and have proactive solutions, that are being able to find these particular solutions and understand the importance of accountability to the community. When you're in leadership, you are accountable to the people that elected you. A lot of the issues that we're seeing in our communities are, you have to hold the elected officials accountable. But you need elected officials that are going to be accountable and responsive to you and your concerns of those things that are important to you. For many of you know, for 8 years, I was a proven leader as a state representative, and would definitely do it again as a Georgia state senator. Why am I best qualified? I'm a small business owner with 2 businesses. I'm a community advocate. You heard me talk about that. And many of you all have seen a lot of the work that I do. I'm always broadcasting. Like we have the I Am Powerful Teen Summit that's coming up this actually Saturday, February the 17th. So about a couple of weeks. With that particular project, I co-hosted with Dr. Dietrich Poindexter with Change for Hope. And we, collaborate together. And this year's theme actually is Lean on Me. I am my brothers and sisters keepers. And what we're trying to do with our teenagers are trying to make sure that they understand you can't do anything in this world by yourself. You're always going to need support and help, and you're going to have to lean on somebody. And so with this particular Teen Summit, I talk about it a little bit later. That's kind of our focus. I do the annual back to school block party, Clayton County back to school block party, where I partner with Hand, Heart, and Soul Project and Little Ones and a lot of other organizations to make sure that our parents are prepared, our students are prepared as they return back to school. So we do that every year as one of our signature. And also, we're getting geared up for March the 21st. For those of you all who didn't know that March the 21st is an official holiday. Now, of course, no, you can't it's not one of those holidays you get off work from, but it's an official holiday where we honor and celebrate single parents in the state of Georgia. So every year on March the 21st, it is Single Parent Day in the state of Georgia. Yay! I wish I had a little thing to shake it and saying yay to our single parents who are striving, who are overcoming, and who are making sure that they are there to raise and do an outstanding job with raising their children. It's not a thing where we are saying we want you to be a single parent, but situations happen that are out of our control that result people into being single parents. And so, because we have single parents, we have to provide those resources, those networks, those things that those parents need to strengthen them to be able to raise those children to be productive citizens once they turn 18, and even before then, being productive with their time. So those are some of the programs and projects I work on, of course. Other programs and projects people ask me to come and support. I'm always very supportive of them on that. Public speaker, I've been asked, I've done public speaking, actually have been a guest keynote speaker 2 years ago, might have been 2 years ago, with Georgia PTA, their conference they held in Columbus. And I was just talking about my experience as a legislator and how important advocacy group like that, which is PTA, which is the largest youth advocacy, child advocacy group in the world, and how important their voice is when it comes down to advocating for those policies that are going to be advantageous for children and for families and also for educators, because PTA is Parent Teacher Association. So being a public speaker there, I also got an opportunity to speak at the national conference for barbers and cosmetologists. They came to Georgia a couple of years ago, and I was one of their keynote speakers talking about advocacy. I can't stress it enough. I love talking about advocacy because that's how things change. Being an internet radio host here at WCEG on Issues and Answers is been a great joy of mine, being able to use my voice to elevate the people who are listening and those who might not be regular listeners on different topics that come up during legislative session, outside of session. I have one little special segment I get into called Say What. And then being a mother of two adult children. You have all of those different experiences that are wrapped in together when you talk about how do you look for a candidate that's going to be best qualified, that's well-rounded and seasoned to be able to go down to the bad house. If you talk to anybody, they'll tell you there's a bad house down there at the state capitol. But be able to be effective and get things done. I served as a state legislator for 8 years, which is considered 4 terms, from 2012 to 2020. The areas I covered at that time, the cities were Morrow, Lake City, Forest Park, College Park, and Riverdale. So some of the same city areas are incorporated into District 34, and with a few more added on that I did not serve previously. But the issues are similar. The issues are similar. I co-sponsored over 2 dozen bills to improve the lives of Georgians that have been actually signed into law. So these are not bills that I just introduced and they didn't go anywhere. No, they went through the whole process of receiving a hearing in the committee, getting voted out favorably from the committee, and then also getting through the House chambers, then over through the Senate chambers, and actually getting to the governor's desk to be signed into law. That is a huge accomplishment that many legislators don't get a chance to do is serving in those capacity. But I was able to do that, one, because I was able to work with both Democrats and Republicans to get things done at the state capitol. And that's the only way. You can't be one-sided because it's not going to work. Because the issues that you and I are facing are not one-sided. They are people issues. And so when you're dealing with people issues, you have to be able to work with all parties that are involved to talk about people issues and to get those bills passed. With me working specifically dealing with Clayton County, many of you all may not know or may have forgotten that the Federal Aviation Administration had a ruling that they enacted that affected the jet fuel tax collection, sales tax collection in Clayton County, and many other entities across the state. So it wasn't just Clayton County. Clayton County was the one that was most affected by this loss of jet fuel tax revenue. So it was in the average of about $18 million Clayton County has not been able to collect because of this ruling from the Federal Aviation Administration, which is a department up in the federal government in Washington, D.C. And what it specifically says is that entity or jurisdiction like Clayton County and some of the others across the state cannot collect sales tax from the jet fuel if they cannot spend the money where the taxes are collected. So because Clayton County owns the dirt, about 80% here or so, is located, the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is located on the dirt of Clayton County. That's why as a jurisdiction, it can supposed to be able to collect the taxes, but it cannot spend it because the city of Atlanta actually owns and operates the airport. So it's a very strange situation, you all, but I was able to advocate for a $45 million grant that was given to Clayton County due to the loss of that jet fuel tax that was not being able to be collected. So that was money that went to the school system, that was money that went to the county, and then there was money that was allocated to go to the different cities, the 7 cities in Clayton County. And so that was not a continuous thing. So right now, as of this recording, Clayton County is not collecting any of the jet fuel tax money. It's just like when you go and fuel up your tank, when you go get your gas and you have to pay taxes on that gas. Well, that's what Clayton County wasn't able to collect. And so we worked diligently as a group, but I spearheaded it and led that negotiation to be able to get that with then Governor Deal. So those are some accomplishments. I authored legislation to support single parents. I talked about it earlier. March the 21st was House Resolution 279, which was signed into law in May 2018. That actually designates March the 21st as Single Parent Day in the state of Georgia. So we're going to be going down to the Capitol on March the 21st. We actually have 3 days of celebration. But we'll be down to the state capitol. I'm starting at 9 o'clock on March the 21st. So you are all welcome to come. You don't need to sign in. You don't need to pre-register. It's free. You can come down into the capitol and be recognized. We're going to be recognizing 33 individuals, male and female. So y'all, they're not just mothers who are single parents. They're fathers as well. But that was that particular bill. My first legislation that I was able to author and get signed into law was HB 614, the Landon Johnson Act, which protects special needs students and teachers. And what it says is that it allows video cameras to be placed in the classroom of special needs students who are self-contained. And for those who don't know what self-contained means, it means that those students are actually in one classroom together. All those who have special needs are in the classroom together. And when they're in that classroom together, a lot of things can happen and transpire. And so the video cameras allows for a third eye to be able to see what actually happens in that classroom, and to make sure that the children are protected and the teachers, because sometimes teachers get abused too. And so that's what that particular legislation did. And it also allows the parents to opt out. If they didn't want the video cameras to be on their particular child in that classroom, they can opt out. So that particular pill is not mandatory, but it does allow for the cameras to be placed in the classroom. So that was a huge, huge accomplishment. It took us about 2 years to get that bill passed and signed into law, but that is House Bill 614. And as a result of that, we're still seeing a lot of abuse that's taking place. So that's one of those bills that have to be revisited to see now, does it need to be mandatory? And if it does, how is the funding going to happen to be able to cover that? And it could go up under the safety as a safety issue. I know that there's money going to be allocated for the schools in the upcoming budget for school safety. And that's a part of school safety. So there are different ways that it can be handled, but you need someone experienced to know. I don't have to start on day one trying to figure out how the legislative process goes. I already know how the legislative process goes. I've already established some good working relationships, so I'm be ready to start on day one, getting down there and making sure that things are happening for our community, the community 34, and across the state of Georgia as well. And I want to do a special shout out to Lala Johnson and her husband and her family. They started the James and Mary Foundation, and they actually held a banquet honoring parents and other individuals who have been supportive with in the special needs community. What Lala like to say is individuals with unique abilities, and so she doesn't use the word special needs, but we continue to use it because that's the language that's in legislation. And so I want to thank her and her family. I actually received an award for that, and there were other parents, and you should have seen the reaction on those parents' faces of actually receiving an award for being an outstanding parent, raising a special needs student or unique ability individual with unique abilities. So shout out to Lala for pulling that off. It was a hard one, but that was her first one. And then we also had, I know Ron Hatcher, who was another individual that helped on that bill, has an awards event. He actually has an internet radio show. Shout out to Jessica Wells in Augusta. She helped on that particular bill to get it passed. Kenyette Barnes Harper. I don't know if it's Harper Barnes, but I said Kenyette, and also Neil. So we worked together as a team. Even Voices for Children helped as an organization to get that bill passed. And even going back to House Resolution 279, a special shout out to National Leadership Group, the National Leadership Group with Beverly, Tom, Lenora, and all those individuals that continue to work with us on this committee for making sure that we keep this bill alive. And not just being a bill, but we actually keep it active with helping our single parents. I've served on the House committees on small business development. I've served on the Education Committee where I actually held a position, a leadership position on that committee. I also sat on the Education Appropriations. So when you talk about money, how's money allocated to education, there's a lot of talk about fully funding the QBE, which is a quality-based education formula, which is antiquated, you all. I don't think you will find anybody at that state capitol, especially lawmakers, that would say, oh, that's the best formula. It was back in the 80s, probably mid-80s, when it was first created to decide how funding is going to actually come down to each child that's educated in our school districts. Well, it's outdated. You know how much stuff has changed, and even the needs of students have changed. The needs for teachers and educators has changed. The needs for the school districts have changed. And so I know that when I was at the state capitol, Governor Deal had a committee, Education Reform Commission, which I sat on, and one of their responsibilities was to come up with a formula. We worked with the Department of Education and other entities to come up with it. But for whatever reason, of course, politics always play a major role in it. It could not be rolled out. It did not pass. But it was a great starting point because it actually allocated money for the child's needs. So, and then it had a base amount, and then additional money funding was added on top of that base amount according to what the needs are for that particular child. So it was a per student pupil formula, funding formula that definitely I think when the COVID happened could have been very, very helpful for getting those kids what they needed. But we were still working with the state, still working with an outdated formula, and still today it's an outdated formula. So you want someone who's going to be elected to go down and understand that this is an urgency and being able to work with other legislators to say we, not I, but we need to make sure that our children in Georgia who are being educated from 0 all the way up to 12th grade have what they need, and we're providing the support to the educators who are being placed in those classrooms up under sometimes some bad conditions, but they're struggling through. And so hats off to our educators across the state who have decided to stay in those classrooms. Many of them have retired. Many say, I just can't deal with these children and their behavior. Because I'm going to tell you, parents, y'all done a number on some of those kids and their behavior in those classrooms. And those things have to be addressed. Sometimes parents have gotten overwhelmed with trying to raise their children. So those are issues and things that have to be addressed. So serving on the education committee, I was able to look at those bills that came to on the House side and decide whether they're good bills, whether they're not, whether they need to be tweaked a little bit or changed a little bit. So all those are opportunities you get as a legislator when those bills come up. And as a Democrat serving upon the majority Republican legislature and being able to be appointed as a vice chair of a subcommittee, that was very, very a huge accomplishment. And I didn't take it lightly, but I knew I was there to serve the people. I served on the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, which oversaw all the tourism that happened in the state. So anytime a bill came that had something to do with tourism or economic development, it came to that particular committee. All of those bills dealing with the with film, the entertainment industry, all of that came up on the Economic Development and Tourism Committee. Interstate coordination, I served on that committee, and that dealt with us being able to negotiate and talk with other states when it came down to bills and our laws here. Our laws here in the state don't mean it's the same law in another state. When we're down there at the state capitol, we're voting on laws for the state of Georgia, not for Alabama, not for Florida, for Mississippi, not the other Tennessee, any of the other connected states. But Interstate Coordination Committee, I actually came up with policies or kind of like agreements that can be used with other neighboring states when it came down to bills or of our citizens that leave a residence that went to another state for whatever reason. I'll give you an example. One particular bill was dealing with Medicaid. So for those of you all who travel down to South Georgia and all the way down to like Thomasville, Georgia, which is way at the bottom, they are like maybe 30 minutes away from Tallahassee, Florida. So say for instance, a citizen gets sick, the closest hospital is hours away in Georgia, but only 30 minutes away if they cross the Florida line. Well, if they cross the Florida line and they need service as what's going to the hospital, and they say they're on Medicaid, somebody has to pay that bill. Well, it is still the state of Georgia's responsibility because that person is a resident of Georgia that's been approved for their Medicaid in Georgia. But to be able to get the best care with the shorter length of driving time, they had to cross over into Florida. So Florida said, okay, Georgia residents, if you come over here, we want to make sure that your bill is going to be paid. And so Georgia has to come up with an agreement with Florida that they have to also agree with, that anytime a Georgia resident comes to Florida or any of the other states to receive medical service, I'm just using this for right now as an example, then that bill will be covered by the state of Georgia. So that means the state of Georgia has to write a check, send payments over to Florida to cover those individuals who are getting service health wise. So that's what that particular committee did. So a lot of people didn't understand what interstate coordination did, but that's what that particular committee did. So I served on all of those House committees and also was able to be a committee chair of what's called a House Study Committee. So whenever there are issues at the state capitol where they can't be resolved in one legislative session, which is 40 days, and they're not 40 straight days, but they're a total 40 days that the legislators are in session creating bills, and then the time with the governor signing the bills. But even after session, he has about 40 days to sign any bills that were passed during the legislative session. But sometimes you can't solve everything in 40 days. Sometimes issues are so big and so huge, so cumbersome, that it takes additional time to study what those issues are. One particular issue is maternal mortality. That particular situation had to end up being created as a study committee. I wasn't the chair, but I was appointed to serve on that committee and got a chance to see what was actually going on with women who were giving birth in Georgia and what was happening, causing them to expire or to pass away after giving birth or even before giving birth. So we were able to listen to all type of testimonies that came before us, even actual people, family members of women who were pregnant, the experts, the doctors, gynecologists, OB, obstetricians. I mean, all kind of the different health systems. Our state health system that keeps the record of all of this that's going on. And so it was very, very a lot of information. And what the study committee had to do was come up with what their recommendations would be to be able to solve the issue, solve the problem. So one of the recommendations that came out of that committee that I sat on was extending Medicaid to 12 months beyond the time that she gives birth, because they found that a lot of women were suffering through postpartum, as far as, and they were not able to handle it, and their Medicaid was cut out 6 months, 3 months, and 6 months. So they still needed additional health care and overlooking by the doctor and the physician, even after the baby was after the 3 and 6 months. So there was legislation passed afterwards, which resulted from the study committee recommendations, that actually now extends Medicaid to 12 months after a woman gives birth. So those were just a couple of things that I'm just noting to you all so you can understand the process and how you have to know what's going on at the state capitol in order to be an effective leader and to be able to bring information back to your constituents. Another one I was mentioning earlier about, I served as the chair. I was appointed the chair of the House Study Committee on the revitalization of Atlanta State Farmers Market. For those of you all who are new to Georgia, the farmers market was the place to be back early years. You can always go and get fresh fruit and vegetable at the farmers market, but many did not know, and I didn't know until I became elected, that the state farmers market, which is located in Forest Park, in Clayton County, although it's named the Atlanta Farmers Market because originally it was located in Atlanta and then moved to its present location in Clayton County. but the name never changed until we had the House Study Committee. That was one of the recommendations, was to change the name of the farmers market, and it has been changed. So if any of you all ride by Forest Parkway or even still go over to the farmers market, it's a sign up there, and the name has changed. That was a result of the study committee that I chaired along with, and it was a bipartisan, which means there were Democrats and Republicans that served on this House Study Committee. But I was the one that actually chaired it, set up when the committee meeting times are going to be, who was going to come and give testimony about why the state farmers market need to be revitalized. Another positive thing that came out of that committee was that we were able to get millions of dollars allocated in the state budget to be able to help repair some of the buildings over there. And now I do understand that Governor Kim actually has recommended $50 million to be placed in this year's budget for the same thing of revitalizing, upgrading those old buildings that probably have been there since 1959 or so, or even later. So kind of doing a whole new face look of the farmers market. So, like I was going to say, many of you all may not know that the state farmers market is the largest distribution center for agriculture in the state, in the Southeast region, not just the state of Georgia, but the Southeast region. So it is a huge economic driver for our state, and it moves produce and products across the state lines in the Southeastern United States. And so not only does it serve locally for people who want to come and get fruits and vegetables, but it's also a transportation hub where those trucks are moving in and out. That's why most recently you saw all of the new development with the expressway, the Highway 75. Now there has a whole new dedicated lane, another way for coming out of the state farmers market. Well, all that was actually in work when we were doing the study committee, and we were being able to talk about what those developments going to look like, the end of development. So, like I said, you have to have someone, because leadership matters. So you want someone, when you're electing them, to know what's going on, able to bring information back. And we had community meetings in our community to talk about and to hear from the community about what they want to see at the Atlanta Farmers Market. So those are some of the few of the committees that I served on. I served on many more. From that, I served on school safety, House Study Committee on school safety, where we talked about what does a safe school looks like. When you're talking about people being able to get on the school campus with guns or anything else and being able to hurt and harm the employees, the students, parents, or whoever may be at the school at that time. So that comes back to what I talked about earlier about the House Study Committee, but I did serve on that. We got a chance to travel around the state to hear from our public safety officers, hear from school district superintendents, school board members, at just regular people, talking about what it looks like, for what does a safe school looks like. One of the things I remember them talking about was the bushes outside of the school. Was, you may need to trim the bushes down so that if you're in the school, you're able to see who's approaching the school. Even though, you kind of look at it as, landscaping, but that makes a difference. So those little small things like that. I also am a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, where I pledged at Fort Valley State College, and has hoorah for Fort Valley, since we are in Black History Month. One of the HBCUs here, state HBCU. There's a state university. I was appointed by late Speaker Ralston to the ML King Jr. Advisory Council. So where I serve as the vice chair. So that's one of the current things that I am serving on now with that. And we just actually finished the MLK celebration where we actually acknowledge about 5 individuals who have made an impact across the state of Georgia with their service. And we had different categories of awardees. And so we did have Dr. Ariel Shaw was awarded, Dorita Samuels award, Business Woman's Award, but because of her work with Southern Crescent Women's Chamber and the other work that she's doing to promote women in business. So she received an award. We also gave an award to LaDonna Hampton, um, the Andrew Young Humanitarian Award that she received because of her work. And LaDonna, hats off to her, she actually was the person that started the first celebration of Juneteenth in Clayton County. And then she does a lot with literacy with the Clayton County library system. So congratulations to her. The Emeritus Representative Calvin Smiley received an award as well for actually being one of the ones that helped start the ML King Advisory Council. So we appreciate him. Bishop Jackson was another one, AME Bishop receiving an award, and Dr. Omotayo was another recipient. She's a person that's over the Public Defenders Council. So whenever you go into court and you have to have, you can't afford an attorney, and they always tell you attorney can be assigned to you, that comes up under the Public Defenders Department. And so she's a person that's in charge of that. And so a lot of changes she was able to make that has helped the Public Defenders Department since she's been appointed to that position. So congratulations to all of them, and also to my fellow council members. We worked diligently into the Department of Community Affairs, who's the administrative arm, and Rusty Haygood, definitely had to give a shout out to him, and they did an outstanding job in January. So as the show is almost over, y'all know I could talk, but I did want to talk about the three areas that my campaign will focus on: the book, and the ballot. And you may say, where in the world did she get those words from? So I have to give credit to the late Mayor Maynard Jackson for the first time I heard those words. The book, and the ballot. My dad served as his field general, operations general during his campaign, and even when he was elected as mayor, serving as a community outreach person, making sure the community can be able to have a voice at City Hall in Atlanta. So the book, Economic Regeneration. We're looking at small business growth quality, the quality of small business growth. As you know, small businesses make up about 60% of the hiring in our community. So if every time a small business closes, that's not good. That means there's money that no longer will be generated in our community. That means individuals who were working or could be hired by that small business will no longer be able to be hired. So we have to make sure we are protecting the quality and the growth of our small businesses in our community. Affordable and efficient health care, that's essential. We can't talk enough about the affordability of health care. If you're sick, you can't go to work. If you're sick, your children can't go to school. If you're sick, you can't have a quality of life. You can't travel. You can't enjoy anything because you're sick. So this should not be an issue that we're continuing to talk about, is affordability and efficient health care, especially in America. That should be a no-brainer. But that's an issue that has to constantly be put in front of the elected officials so they can understand. They understand, but they can making sure that their action is taking place. Fair and affordable housing. No one should be homeless if they want to be, unless it's something they choose to be, not because of circumstances that have resulted in them not being able to afford to stay where they live. The book, Reimagining Education. Education is the key to everything. Education is the key to success. And it needs to be equitable, it needs to be quality, and learner-centered education. Learner-centered means it needs to be centered on the child, not on the convenience of adults, but on what that particular child needs, and it needs to be of high quality. It should not matter where you live, where your zip code is. You should have, and you have the right to have, the best quality education that's delivered. And so with that, it doesn't matter. It should not matter where a parent wants their child to attend. That should be their parents' choice. It should not be the government deciding that you're zoned for a particular area and you have to attend that particular school. No, it needs to be opened up that those parents can choose where they want the quality of their children's education to be like and where it's located. We need more apprenticeship programs in our community. And we have great programs that our technical colleges have. They have funding for it, but a lot of times that information is not getting down to the parents and the students to know that that is an option. Yes, we do have dual enrollment and that can work, but we have apprenticeship programs that are out there that just need to be activated. One particular one was the IUPAC, International Union of Painters Union. They had a great apprenticeship program that they have been instituting across the state that allows individuals to be able to work and get paid while they're learning a trade. Each child that graduates from any high school in the state of Georgia needs to have graduated with a trade. That should be a no-brainer. That needs to be across the board, across the state of Georgia. Every child that graduates is going to graduate with a trade. That puts them in a better position to be able to work. And if they want to go back and get additional higher learning, post-secondary, hey, that's great. But when they graduate and march across the aisle or virtually are graduating, they need to have had completed a trade. We need more educator and parent support systems in our school system. And you'll hear me talking a lot more about it as we go on with this particular campaign. The last B is the ballot, government efficiency, period. Our government needs to be more efficient to being able to serve the needs of the people with our taxpayer dollars. We need a fair, robust justice system. Our senior citizen services, we need to look at that support. And also for people with disabilities, our veterans need support. Voter education and engagement is important. It's the key. Last month that we kicked off the school choice celebrations. And that goes back to what I was saying about parents having that particular support and choice. Myself, my two sisters, all of us have been participating in some kind of level of school choice, whether it's my sister and I graduating from Southside Comprehensive High School in the Magnet program. That was a choice. My parents chose for us to be able to participate. Allowing our own children to attend online charter school, Georgia Connections Academy, online. That was a choice that we chose for our children to participate in. Or my niece participating in another education option where they had a satellite location where the parents brought the kids and they did school online. And then they also got an outstanding educational type of programming and opportunity to be able to visit and travel all while they were in high school. They traveled to New York, they've been to Florida, they've been all over Georgia, and they just were every time they were going somewhere, but they were able to do it. They were not constrained with, oh, we don't have money for a field trip. Oh, the kids can't go. It was none of that. So they got so much exposure that helped them to be able to mature into great, outstanding citizens even today. We need that flexibility in education. So, this campaign, of course, cannot be successful without your support. I need for you all to go and visit gostovall.com and make your contribution. Sign up to volunteer. Sign up for our newsletter so you can know exactly what's going on and what's happening, where we're at, what we're doing. We need you. We need you to be able to help us return back to the state capitol, but this time on the other side, in the state Senate side. So we served on the House side. Now we'll be going over to the state Senate side with your help. We've been putting in the work for a long time, for over a decade, and being a leader that is not afraid, that's bold, that's accessible, that's truly about having a voice for the people. When I decided to run, we had the campaign kickoff and had a lot of supporters that came out to support us. And it was just very, very heartwarming to hear other people give you accolades of work that you do. That you do work, I do work. I don't think about, oh, who's going to thank me for this? I do it because what I love to do. And to be able to hear words like Honorable Valencia Stovall has been putting in the work for our community for over a decade. She's a leader that's truly for the people. Somebody else got up and somebody else stated that I've been serving my community my whole life. I don't know if they knew me that long, but hey, and I believe, and they believe I'm the most experienced of the candidates serving as state when I served as state representative. We need leaders to elect leaders who can make vital decisions. Stovall has done a great job at giving advice and awareness about bills and laws that many of us do not know about. Very inspiring. Another person said a leader, Valencia Stovall is a leader with experience and a track record of results. She's extremely knowledgeable on people's issues and how to work collaboratively to get them resolved. So again, go visit gostovall.com. Now, I have a few minutes left. I had to look at the clock. Y'all know I have to do my what time is it? Say what? Oh, yeah, we got some say words for you. And I got only a few minutes to get them out. The Georgia General Assembly has started a legislative session on January the 8th, which is the second half of the 2-year legislative cycle. Of course, they've been debating various bills that would affect you as a resident of Georgia. But one thing about it, they must pass a balanced budget, which is their only requirement by state law. They have to say, unlike in Washington, D.C., they don't have to have a balanced budget. They can spend more money than they have coming in, but not in the state of Georgia. We have to have a balanced budget. Now they're working on the amended budget. The amended budget is the first budget that's passed when legislators come back into session. It is to continue the funding until June the 30th of this year. So it's proposed to be $37.5 billion, not million, $billion. That's a huge budget, a huge budget. And the governor will have to sign the bill into law. The next budget they're working on even now, is the budget that's going to start July the 1st. So that budget usually gets passed a little bit closer towards the end of session, because that money starts being able to spend starting July the 1st. So the governor presents his recommendation for budget items to the legislators, and then all negotiations begin. But say what? Yeah, we have to have a balanced budget. We can't spend more money than we have coming in. We can't have more going out than what's coming in. Next, let's say what? New maps were agreed upon by the judge. There was a lot of debate back and forth. Y'all heard about it in the news. But the judge has said these are the maps submitted by the legislature that was agreed upon and voted in, that the Republicans submitted, are the maps that are going to be used for this election cycle and moving forward. And the reason they had to be redistricting of the maps, and I talked about this before on a previous show, was to ensure that Black voters have representation in Georgia. So make sure you check your voter status at mvp.sos.ga.gov. Or you can Google My Voter Page. It's going to tell you where you're supposed to vote, who your elected officials are. You have to do a little research or Googling, but you're going to need to make sure you know that. Now, the next say what, and it's a short say what, is did you know that WSB TV and Channel 11 are no longer on Direct TV? So those people that have Direct TV, you're going to click all day long. They're not on there. So no more of that local news channel on there. So a lot of stuff is going on, y'all. Y'all got to keep your eyes open. So I'm going to run into my announcements now. Okay, every show, we talk about reparations, the commission. There was legislation that was introduced. So continue to ask your legislators about what's the progress of House Bill 89. Where is it? And of course, always giving thanks to Tamara Shigley, who's doing an outstanding job. We're pushing that. But also on tomorrow, if you're not busy, starting at 11 o'clock, there's going to be a rally down at the state capitol for barbers and cosmetologists. There's a bill that was introduced that now will allow people who don't have license to be able to open up shampoo shops and blow dry. They can shampoo your hair, blow dry you, and get you out the door. You may think it's okay, but would you want somebody messing around in your head who does not have a license, has not been trained on what the health conditions are of the scalp and the head. And they can just open up a shop. You go in there, get your hair shampoo. They don't know what kind of skin texture you have. If you have sensitive skin, they don't know what kind of chemicals are the best ones to use, and they just gonna mess your hair up. So think about it. But if you're free, go down to Liberty Plaza at the state capitol from 11, from 10 to 12 o'clock on tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday, the 6th. So get on down there. Next announcement, I talked earlier about the Teen Summit. It's going to be February the 17th at 11 to 2 p.m. at Golden Glide Skating Rink. So bring your teenagers out. The cost is only $10 and you pay at the door. You don't have to pre-register. Come on out and support. Our theme is Lean on Me. I am my brothers and sisters keeper. Go to change4hope.org. Change4hope.org to get more information. If you're a Greek organization, you have a sorority or fraternity, and you all have a step team, we're looking for you. We need some steppers to be able to, for the performances for the kids. We're going to have a step show, but we're also showing them why Lean on Me and being your brothers and sisters keeper is important. So that's the theme that we're working with. So make sure you reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook or anything else if you can't remember what the website is. Of course, March the 21st is Single Parents Day. We're going to be at the state capitol. We got 3 days of activities that are going to be going on. The first one is kicking off at the state capitol at 9 a.m. We're going to be taking pictures. We signed up to take pictures with the governor, and we signed up to take pictures with whoever else is down there. But we're going to, and I thank Representative Schofield for spearheading that since I left office down at the state capitol, to making sure we're keeping informed. And we thank the legislators who are actually going to sponsor their constituent who was nominated to receive these awards. So we're going to have a skate night that Friday, the 22nd, and then we're going to have our annual Legacy Builders Recognition and Awards Banquet on the 23rd. We're still looking for sponsors and vendors. You can go to nationallg.org, https, /nationallg.org for more information. Now, are you a leader in business, nonprofit, faith-based, government, or community who are in Clayton County and concerned about healthy food choices and physical activities? Then you can join the Hand, Heart, and Soul Clayton Collaborative SNAP Ed. And another name for SNAP Ed is food stamp, but we're educating those who are eligible or who could be eligible but not signed up, who are signed up, and those who could be signed up about healthy food choices and physical activity. So we're meeting, our next meeting be February the 28th at 1 p.m. at the headquarters library on Battle Creek. If you're in Clayton County, everybody knows where the headquarters library is. You can send an email to gycc@handheartsoulproject.org for more information. Guess what, y'all? The time has caught us. Woo! I didn't know I could talk that long. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But all good things must come to an end. We will be back here on Monday, February the 19th. You know, we had a show the first and third Mondays. We have this show, and we gonna have a very, very good special guest. His name is Rashad Stanley. He's the founder of Trenches Clothing Line. I don't know if y'all remember seeing this on the news or hearing about it, where this gentleman was in jail and he was sanctioned by the prison for creating designer clothing while he was in jail. Yes, that's what you call a true entrepreneur. But he's going to be our guest on February the 19th, and he actually happens to be my cousin. So we're going to be interviewing him on the 19th. And so tune back in at 4 p.m. The goal of Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Stovall, is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you're in a situation to be concerned. Remember, you can sign up for volunteering or making a contribution to the campaign. Go to GoStovall.com. And just remember, Stovall, that's all. You all have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you back on the 19th.